All right, thanks, Mark. As we are each and every week, joined by former BGSU Falcon John Gibson, part of the Bowling Green Falcon Radio Network, along with Todd Walker. All right, now, John, against Oregon, okay, we said, hey, it's Oregon. All right, they're one of the top 25 programs. Against Maryland, we said, hey, it's a Big Ten program in Maryland that had a couple of wins, including one over Texas. Against Eastern Kentucky, we said a win is a win is a win over an FCS school. Okay. What do we say after what happened against Miami?
I don't think there's anything you can say. I don't think that there's an excuse for the way that they played. I don't think there's an excuse for the way that the score looked. You know, even with the, the cosmetic scores at the end, there was enough bad to see to say, hey, there's no way you can't put lipstick on this pig. It was an egg laid, and these guys are going to have to regroup.
Well, and that was my question. We talked so glowingly about Jarrett Dagey and how some of that offense can play, but nobody was playing. I mean, is it too early to start wondering, have we lost the room?
I think so. I think it's too early to start wondering that. I think you saw at the end of the game with those cosmetic scores, the guys are still interested. They're still engaged. They're still playing. We're not even in October yet. People are upset. I'm upset. The coaching staff and the players are upset. But I think at some point in time, we have to slow it down and realize that football seasons are a sprint. They're a marathon. They're not a sprint. And you've got to let each quarter play out. And, we're not happy with how we played in the fourth quarter. That doesn't mean we give up on the second, third, and fourth. We've got to regroup and get better.
I feel like that we're starting to get into this, and I know we're still early in the season, but I feel like we're starting to get into this. Well, here are some good things that happened, but again, the good is not outweighing the bad.
Well, no, I think, we were so upset with how the defense played last year. And you feel like, hey, we'll just throw another defensive coordinator in there. But people forget that learning a new defense is like, learning new choreography in a different language. These guys on the defensive side of the ball are still playing where they're thinking first and not reacting. And you've got to be able to react first. And that only comes with time in the defense. I think that, offensively, we did regress. We took a step back. There were a lot of issues on the offensive line. We couldn't protect Jarrett. We couldn't block for the running backs. These were all things that we were not able to do that we have been able to do up until that point. But I think we're also at a point in the season now where the film is out. Everybody sees it, and everybody has a different way that they're going to attack Bowling Green. And the guys have got to come up. They've got to be better now because, what we're seeing now is we're having trouble picking up the blitz. So everybody's sending the house. Second and third down, they're sending the house. They don't really run the ball. So now we really can send the house. These types of things are, what we're seeing. They have trouble stopping the run. So you know what? Throw the passing game out this week. We're going to run the ball up and down the field until they can show us that they can stop us before 5.6 yards, which is what Miami averaged last week.
Yeah, that was a horrible discrepancy, too, because BG couldn't run the ball, 2.5 yards a carry maybe at most, and Miami with 5. Okay, so the best thing that they want to do right now, as you would do if you were in this situation, is get past last week. So, all right, so let's do it. Let's move forward. Given what we've seen here in the first 4 weeks, what can we expect going into this week?
I mean, this is probably the worst thing that could happen for this team. I mean, the schedulers did no favors to Bowling Green this year with the way that the schedule was laid out. You're literally looking at a situation where, your biggest weakness is Georgia Tech's biggest strength. And you're flying down to Atlanta for, an ACC game, a noon kickoff on Raycom, and it has the potential to get ugly. It really does because it's already tough when a team lines up in the I formation and just runs the ball down your throat. But when you start bringing the option into the game, it gets real bad because there's no way to prepare for that option. You can't get a scout team you would have to practice your scout team for 3 months to get them to prepare to look halfway as good as what Georgia Tech going to look running that option. It's going to be a tough road to hoe. The question is, again, it's going to require these guys to step up and be better, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They're going to have to step up and be better. In the offensive side of the ball, they've got to get it figured out. Those front 5 guys, that offensive line, they've got to get it figured out. I mean, Lorenzo Taborn sat out most of last week. He sat out most of the last 2 weeks. I'm hoping that he's healthy and is able to come back, especially for the Toledo game, for the stretch run. I mean, we've got, we're 5 weeks in. We got to see some results now.
Well, yeah, and I mean, as you mentioned, ACC teams have a hard time with Georgia Tech's triple option. So if you're Bowling Green, and if you're Mike Jinks, put yourself in his shoes here. So you were getting throttled at home against a winless team in Miami. Now you're going to go play an ACC team. And oh, by the way, cut down the road, not that far away, is your rival to the north that you haven't beaten in a decade plus. I don't know, how do you hang on to the room? I mean, you've been in locker rooms where it hasn't been good. How do you keep that room if you're Mike Jinks?
Well, I think it boils down to how the guys look at themselves. I walked into a locker room every week. I'm a winner. I win. I prepare to win. I practice to win. And I'm going out on Saturdays expecting to win. These guys have to look at themselves and see what it is that they expect from themselves. That's the biggest thing. What do you expect from you? And, I think that he's done a great job recruiting. I think he still has the room. I think that this is just the anomaly poor performance. But I think also that I also have to believe that we have to look at what this team was supposed to be. We weren't supposed to be competing for the MAC championship this year. We were supposed to be third, fourth in the East this year. That's what all the prognosticators said. Not saying that that's what you have to play to, but that's what everyone said. And we look like a team that's going to be third, fourth in the East right now. I mean, the problem is that we don't have any of the cupcake teams from our eastern part of our conference. We don't have any of those early in the schedule. We got rivalry game, ACC rivalry game, MAC championship contender, back to back to back. Yeah. So the schedule doesn't look good. It may even itself out in October, but we've got to weather the storm and try to get victories where we can.
All right, I'm going to leave it with this, John Gibson, and I want you to take this down to Atlanta with you. Just remember, last week, Virginia Tech went into Norfolk, ranked number 13 in the country, and lost to Old Dominion. Keep hope alive.
Yeah, well, without a doubt, you can always expect.
We're going to get this.
To get it. We can always expect to get a W. You can always expect to get a W. You go out there. I mean, there's no better feeling than being a team that's not supposed to compete at all and actually winning the game. So these guys have an opportunity before them to really stamp something on their resumes. Hey, we went to Georgia Tech and beat Georgia Tech. Remember when we did that?
And who will be on the call for that? John Gibson and Tom Walker on the Bowling Green Falcon Radio Network. I zig.